All right, I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park Governing Body for June 24th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Please join us for a moment of silence, and Vice Mayor Moore, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there anyone signed up for public comment? Is there anyone who is not signed up but would still like to make public comment? All right, first up is Highway Safety Improvement Program presentations. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you.
All righty. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body. My name is Steve Hall, I'm the Transportation Program Manager here in the city. It's an exciting time this evening to be coming before you with the HSIP improvements that you've heard about for some time. They say that transportation projects do take some time, and this is one example of them. This project has been going on for several years, and we're getting very close to getting under construction. With me this evening is Ryan Mattern, and I'm going to get this wrong, but he's Associate Vice President, Professional Engineer and Professional Traffic Operations Engineer with Wallace Montgomery. He was the main engineer that worked with us on this project, and we're going to go over everything that's HSIP tonight. We'll talk about the background, the purpose of HSIP, what it is, the funding that we received, obviously. Ryan will give you guys an overview of the design plans that Wallace Montgomery prepared. We'll talk about the cost of the project, the contract time determination report, basically the schedule, next steps, and then we'll entertain any questions that you might have. So the background, the HSIP is under the umbrella of the Virginia Department of Transportation. It is the Highway Safety Improvement Program. It is funded through state and federal dollars, and it's guided by VDOT's Strategic Highway Plan. The HSIP typically requires a data-driven, systemic focus on safety improvements along one given corridor in cities or counties. So one of the things that we had to do was identify a firm that could do a planning study initially for us and then turn around and submit an application, and we'll talk briefly about that in a moment. VDOT does advance highway safety improvement projects that have the greatest potential to reduce roadway fatalities and serious injuries. HSIP has been around for some time. Most recently, you all approved the Vision Zero plan. So very similar, we're trying to get at safety, limited injuries, and limited fatalities on our road. HSIP has been around, and our Vision Zero plan is going to continue this. So to give you a little bit of an idea of how long we've been at this, back in 2022, we made a request to VDOT to conduct pro bono technical assistance in the form of a planning study. VDOT has on-call consultants. We got hooked up with one of them, and they took a look at our city holistically and said, where could we devote resources and find the most problematic intersections or corridors? Obviously, Manassas Drive became the paramount corridor to look at. Based on some of that, and the consultant prepared an HSIP report for FY24 applications. The governing body passed a resolution in October of 2022 endorsing a grant application. On Halloween that year, we submitted the application for just shy of $1.3 million. Fast forward about 6 months, we were notified we received the award. This was the first highway safety improvement program project that the city received. Great news, received in full, and one of the big things to note here is that there's no match required either. So this is all grant money. We entered an agreement with VDOT on May 3rd, 2023. The governing body then authorized the design phase, authorized us to enter a contract for design services with Wallace Montgomery after we went to procurement. That's about where we are right now. We've spent the better part of the last year undergoing design, updating the plans, going back and forth with VDOT with some comments. 30% submittal, 60%, and now we're finally at 100%. As a matter of fact, we just submitted the final stamp plans to them today, and then we'll be getting ready to go to bid. So to give you a sense where we're talking about on Manassas Drive, the project extends from Baker Street to Signal View Drive. It really is almost the entire corridor within the city. It does stop shy of Bloom's Crossing, but we've got a supplemental project that's going to look at a couple intersections there coming up in the future. There were two individual applications that came out of the planning study. One was for pedestrian and unsignalized improvements, crosswalks, additional signage, curb bump outs. So one of the things you'll notice, it's a pretty robust presentation. There are a lot of slides, and Ryan, I've asked to kind of give you guys a high-level overview rather than into detail of every single slide. But you'll see similar improvements. We're going to do new crosswalks. We're going to do, we're going to redo crosswalks where there are some existing. We're going to do curb bulb outs to try to slow traffic. Then we'll do some signal-related improvements. We're going to have some new flashing yellow arrows. We're going to have high visibility signal backplates, which help vehicles, obviously, reflectivity. And then we have some rectangular rapid flashing beacons as well. So all in all, these were some of the systemic improvements that the planning study identified. We put into a grant application and got funded. And I will turn it over to Ryan to get into some of the nuts and bolts about the design.
Hey, good evening, everyone. So, go through the design, and first of all, some of the design constraints that we started out with for the corridor. The funding did not have any right-of-way acquisition, so we were all within the right-of-way. Basically, that goes to the back of the curb at these locations. So, anything in the study basically wasn't outside of right-of-way anyway, but we were sort of constrained with that. Survey did not provide in budget, so basically this is based for the vertical elevations of the design. We went out and did field measurements. It's basically curb heights. There may need to be some field changes if there's any existing utilities or any items that weren't caught. And then the project is considered an alteration project, obviously, because it's along an existing corridor. So some of the requirements for ProWag and ADA, their allowances if they cannot be met. So some constraints such as ADA pathways have a minimum constriction area for replacing, items like utility poles and stuff like that we're not going to be replacing. And the final improvements were designed to be best for all users, so pedestrians and vehicles. We did not make improvements that might have been best for vehicles, but might have been a safety concern for pedestrians or vice versa. So we looked at this as best for all users. So I'll go through all 30 intersections. I'll try and highlight, some of the differences between them. But a lot of these, as Steve said, are pretty consistent throughout. And these are all based on the ATS study. So anything that they identified, we basically took to design. Feel free to stop me or we can go through any questions at the end. So Baker Street, we have ADA compliant ramps. This is going to be pretty consistent. They're type B mostly, so they ramp down for a consistent 12-to-1, have a level landing area, and new crosswalks. They also have detectable warning surfaces, which are the little raised tactile bumps. Main Street, very similar. On the side streets, ADA ramps. Kent, we have provided bump outs here. We have type A ramps, which are considered perpendicular ramps on the bump out side on the west leg. We also provided the high visibility crosswalks on any crossing of Manassas Drive. We also provided some additional warning signs, which you can't see on the blow up here, but in the little plan you can see the pedestrian warning signs that we provided. Kent Village, it's type B ADA ramps. Colfax has the bump outs. Similar with the high visibility crosswalks, we continue the center stripe through the intersection for some coordination with VDOT. Some of these locations you can see we pulled the stop bar closer to the crosswalks. There's a 4-foot minimum requirement space between there, but the closer we pull it together to the crosswalks, obviously there's better sight distance, less people encroaching and trying to make a gap that they don't have. So Denver is one of those locations. We pulled the crosswalks closer to the Manassas Drive, as well as, this one we pushed back partly to provide better direct crossing for the ADA pedestrians there. Kent Drive, we have type B ADA ramps. Mosby, this has sort of a acute angle intersection. In Courtney, we have the 4 corners and the high visibility crosswalks. At Mosby here, we're reconstructing the central island, providing a pedestrian cut through, and doing the ADA ramps. Martin Drive is type B ADA ramps. Polk Drive, this has ADA ramps. There's also pedestrian or high visibility signal backplates that are being added, and I think we're adding a 5-section signal head here. And there's also a similar, I guess, project that's going on about a signal design potentially that we're coordinating with Steve with for this location. Yeah, so here's some signal details. Currently for the left turn, there's a unique 5-section signal head here. We're replacing it with a standard 4-section flashing yellow. These are all pedestal poles. We're keeping them as is, just updating the ramps. Cabal Drive, type B ramps, adjusting some stop bar locations as needed. Evans, type B ADA ramps. A lot of these locations do have some existing ramps, however, they're not ADA standard, so with the 12-to-1 slopes and the level landing areas, so while some of these have existing ramps, they're either not ideal locations or not current ADA standards. Price is similar, type B ADA ramps. This one, I think the study also identified sight distance concerns for the side street, so we provided some hatched out parking for about, I think, 30 feet to prevent vehicles from being in the sight distance triangles. Evans Street, type B ADA ramps. Scott Drive is type B. Removing some of the ramps down here, I guess that was type A without a level landing area. So the Mathis, this sort of gets closer to the Route 28 corridor. We're redoing the ADA ramps here. I think that the median channelized island was recently constructed, so we're not doing anything there. But the other quadrants we're providing the high visibility crosswalks, and then I think the signal we're replacing, flashing yellow. So Centerville, ADA ramps at this location. This one has pedestrian push buttons and pedestrian signals associated with those that we're going to provide to be located adjacent to those ADA ramps. So this is the signal plan. This probably has the most work because there'll be trenching conduits to existing junction boxes and building those pedestal poles, which are about 10 feet and have the pedestrian signals and push buttons located on them. But overall, the phasing stays the same. So sandstone, ADA type B ramps. Overhill, we have type B ramps. The fire signal, the only updates we're doing here is placing the high visibility signal back plates on the traffic signals. At Euclid, we are not doing any ADA ramp improvements. We're restriping the crosswalks, and I think replacing the high visibility back plates. Yeah, so phasing remains the same. Or actually, this one, the phasing's updated. We're keeping, there's existing pedestrian signals there, but we're updating the phasing to provide a lead pedestrian interval. So that means basically when the side streets go, we'll get to go before vehicles go for a determined amount of time. Usually about 7 seconds, 5 to 7 seconds.
Sorry, can you say that again?
What's that?
The last part, can you say that again?
Usually about 5 to 7 seconds they'll get to go. They'll get the green before vehicles will, to be able to enter the crosswalk, so they're more within the crosswalk. So Bank Street, the Park Central area, this is where I recommended the RFBs. So this location, we're providing the RFBs. It's unique because we have the Bank Street intersection there. So the eastbound Manassas Drive yield bars are on the far side of that location, but we'll provide 4 pedestal poles. You can see the standard here. They'll be, we expect them to be solar and wireless, so we won't have any trenching besides the excavation for the foundations. So this is the mid-block crossing, called it mid-block crossing 1. ADA ramps, I think, are already there. We provided the RFBs, the yield bars, and crossed out some parking due to requirements for RFBs that don't allow parking within, I think it's 50 feet. Market Street, we're replacing the high visibility signal backplates, adding flashing yellow arrows, proposed signage associated with those. At the second mid-block crossing at Broad Street, the study identified this location to move the crosswalk to the west leg. The ramps associated with the east leg will be removed. We'll still leave the bump outs as is, and move them to the west leg with the RFBs and advanced signage and yield bars. At Railroad, high visibility signal backplates and the flashing yellow arrows here. And yeah. So there are a few intersections that were part of the study that they identified no work with. So we left those in just to keep them there in case anything came up, but there's no work at Palisades. At Digital Drive, we're replacing the high visibility signal backplates and flashing yellow arrows for the 5-section doghouse signals. Andrew, similar. Zachary Court, we're providing ADA ramps, I guess, in the northeast quadrant We're providing a directional ramp across since it dead end there, and pulling the stop bar closer to Manassas Drive. Carondelet, no improvements there for this HSO. I think there might be future improvements. So we also provided a project estimate summary with VDOT's workbook. This were itemized quantities for each intersection. We used VDOT's statewide bid query tab in Northern Virginia bid query tools to get estimates, unit prices. Those items came out to approximately $860,000. Within the PES workbook, we estimated MOT costs, CEI services, and for total construction cost about $1.2 million.
Is there a contingency built in that number?
There are contingencies in the spreadsheet here, contingencies and inflation costs that's associated with it. So that's within the, I guess,
Okay.
second tab down here. We also provide a contract time determination report, or CTDR. Basically, we recommended 302 calendar days, looking at the amount of work and the available work days, and approximate starting date of September 1st. This estimated weather days that they'll have to take off, and proposed schedule to provide efficient sequencing of the project. It's pretty linear, and so it'll probably determine a lot about how the contractor will attack it. It also determined risks and any public disruptions is in the report. So some of these potential impacts are long lead for procurements. This is actually coming down, but from what we've seen in the past couple of years, but steel poles for the RFPs potentially have long lead times. Seasonal impacts, a lot of this is concrete for the sidewalk replacements. Utility conflicts, like I said, we don't have subsurface utility survey for this, although we did identify any survey or utilities that were located above ground, so gas valves or anything like that that are in the sidewalk. And then pedestrian and MOT concerns. These are all existing ADA ramps. So the contractor, there are standard traffic control templates they'll have to use. They'll also have to maintain pedestrian access as much as possible. And then I think Steve's going to take over the next steps.
Thank you, Ryan. We are at a point right now that we are preparing to go to bid. I did want to make one brief comment regarding the contract time determination report. It did give us roughly a year, 300 approximate days. We are well within our allotted time frame with VDOT to expend these funds. So one of the things I did want to caveat is that we do have additional time if we need it, but I want to go. I'd like to see this project done. So my goal is to, within the next few weeks, have the invitation for bid prepared and have it out on the street. Obviously, we'll prepare it. Our attorneys will review it. VDOT will get a chance to look at it. We'll then secure construction, engineering, and inspection services. That's the CEI terminology that we do need during the construction phase of the project. We're going to need a third party to be able to inspect. We don't have those resources on staff. We're going to post the IFB through our General Services Office. We're going to allow at least 30 days, maybe 45, to collect bids. Once the bids come in, we're going to take the lowest responsible bidder and bring it back to the governing body. Request that you enter a contract. Authorize that agreement. We're going to begin the construction phase as soon as we can. Thereafter, complete construction and then close out the project. And again, I can't say enough how much of a big deal I feel this is for the corridor. It's been great working with Ryan and, given the freedom to kind of go after these grants. So I commend the city manager, Calvin as well, and the governing body for allowing us the freedom to kind of go after these funding opportunities. So it's a great project, and the city's going to benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You're right, it's a great project. Anything we can do to protect pedestrians and people on their way to work. Any comments, questions? Start this way.
Yeah, I have some basic questions. So what's the difference between a high visibility crosswalk and a regular crosswalk? And I noticed in there that we had some that were just crosswalks and then with some that were high visibility.
Yeah, technically the terminology is the piano, I mean, not technically, but like the piano keys that you're seeing are the high visibility. They're supposed to alert vehicles that obviously there's a crosswalk there. I think the ATCS study provided some locations. We went back to VDOT and suggested that any crosswalk of Manassas Drive be high visibility.
Okay.
Just because of, volumes and 4-lane roads. So
Okay.
that's how basically they were determined, either within the study or when we recommended them across Manassas Drive.
So also, so the second question was, what makes a ramp ADA compliant? Because you said that we do already have some ramps in place and they're not ADA compliant. What makes them ADA compliant, or what are we doing to them to make them so?
Yeah, so basically there's slopes for the ADA compliance. There's different types of ramps. I mentioned type B, which is called a parallel ramp. 12-to-1 slopes, and then we need a 5-foot level landing area. And then the ADA detectable warning surfaces. Those are basically the minimum that we would need. A lot of the existing ones out there are sort of just fit in there. They don't have 12-to-1. The majority of the curb heights are 5 to 6 inches. So 12-to-1, that means you need a 6-foot slope,
Okay.
basically, and then you need a 5-foot level landing area, and then to ramp back up, you would need another 6 feet. So that's basically, 16, 17 feet for a ADA ramp around a radius.
Thank you. Street closings, are we expecting any street closings, and how long are we expecting? Do you have any idea at this point?
I wouldn't think there'd be full street closings. There might be lane closed or parking lanes that are closed. The contractor will probably have to determine.
Yeah, the term MOT, maintenance of traffic, was thrown out there. We're going to require whoever the contractor is to provide us robust maintenance of traffic plans to address this. Our goal is to not close any lanes of traffic if we can. The majority of these improvements, we do have crosswalk improvements, so it may be a lane at a time if possible. We'd like to try to do this as much as we can outside of peak hours. So we're going to do whatever we can with the selected contractor to avoid closing lanes at all costs.
So last question. I know one of the things that was explained to me why we have all these street signs about do not park and all that, so we don't have to paint curbs. With this, I see a lot of paint, potentially with the sidewalks and things like that. Do we have a ongoing maintenance schedule or cost that is associated with all these improvements?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't think, a lot of these are replacing existing crosswalks. There's ramps there, and so maybe they're not existing now, but maybe they were or should have been.
Right.
So I don't know if there's.
So within our existing, yes, the city would need to own and maintain these since it is our right-of-way. What we intend to do is to revisit these as we would with any of our infrastructure, concrete sidewalks, pavement. As items begin to deteriorate over time, we would envision devoting resources towards them. But yes, it will be something we're going to have to maintain over the lifespan of these. I don't know what the typical lifespan for this would be, but it's obviously going to have to be a consideration moving forward.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all.
I have no questions. Thank you.
I have a question regarding Sandstone Way. I didn't see crosswalks on that intersection. Are we installing any?
Yeah, so we have the parallel crosswalks, I guess here.
But to cross across, there's nothing.
Yeah, there's no, I guess, no existing, and it wasn't identified in the study, so.
Yeah, it's used a lot by people going across to go to the, the shopping centers in that area, and then they go to the gas stations and stuff, so
Yeah.
kids use cross the street a lot in that area, that intersection. Mhm. Thank you.
I want to say, excuse me, we have done 3 HSIP applications. The third application that we most recently did with Abdul, our project manager, also appears to have been funded. I don't have a contract yet, but there is an improvement. It's either Sandstone Way or Overhill. It's one of those on that stretch between 28 and the fire station that does have a crossing, and it has a refuge island in the middle where the existing island is. There is a refuge as well in the middle. I'm not sure if it's Sandstone or Overhill, but it's.
South one. Yeah. I think it's further down. I think.
That was it.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, the one that we appear to have gotten funded has that crossing, but we don't have it as part of this project yet.
Okay.
So that'll be HSIP Part 3.
HSIP Part 3, yes. Yes.
Maybe have it as a separate quote, so we know how much that would cost to put that in separately, in case
Sure.
the governing body wants to fund that, or.
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Steve and Ryan. Good questions. About painting or maintenance, I'm assuming that for the crosswalks, they're going to be using thermoplast as opposed to paint?
Yeah.
Which is, lasts a lot longer than regular paint?
Yeah.
Okay, they will be, okay, fantastic. The other question I had was, as far as how much parking are we gonna be losing because of the bump outs? It seems like you're taking out some parking.
Yeah, I don't think we actually quantified a total amount, but I would estimate 5 to 10 total spots.
Oh, that's a lot of spots.
Yeah, that's
Especially
just a
that
rough
side
number
of
off
the
the,
city.
off the head. Basically, I don't think we showed them here, but we have turning sight distance diagrams that sort of document the sight distance triangles and required stopping sight distance for Manassas Drive. So, and the ATS HSIP study sort of identified these as like locations where we need sight distance improvements.
So I am really interested in having it quantified, how many parking spaces at these intersections that the bump outs are gonna be.
We can
Is
do
it
that.
5 to 10 per intersection or in
No.
total?
No,
probably?
no, no.
No, I would say
Total.
total. I mean, there's only a few locations where that was.
I think it's only 2 bump out, or maybe
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, and there's definitely a delicate balance, if I may.
Yeah,
We
go
do
for it.
get concerns and complaints from citizens about lack of visibility at times
Sure,
at certain
sure,
intersections. I mean, even on, like, Connor Drive, we just finished that a year ago, if that, and we have concerns about not being able to see there. And our code requires a certain distance of clearance. I believe it's 20 feet from the intersection into the street, but there is a sight distance triangle too that VDOT wants us to meet, which is a little bit greater than that. So for this project, we're trying to meet that. And in the planning study, which we want to adhere to the scope, that kind of defined what it is that they were funding for us. So we went about it trying to adhere as much as possible to the scope, but at the same time, being cognizant of the parking situations.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. 2 things I'll say is that when I first got on this council, the number 1, I always say number 2, because first is property tax.
Yeah.
Second has been parking. And this council has discussed and came up with different strategies to relieve some of the parking issues on our historic side of the city. So maybe if we're losing some parking, there's maybe some gain parkings that we can make on other streets that are near the bump outs.
Okay.
That could be gained, so that we have a net zero on that. That would be really terrific. The other question I had is about noticing. So I'm assuming either the city or the developer will notify the residents that they're gonna be working in front of their house, because, they're gonna be big equipment, may have to get out and go to work and all that kind of good stuff. How many, is there like a week notice, a month notice? And who's gonna be responsible, Steve? Is it gonna be the city or the contractor?
We would take the lead on the notification to the residents. I think some of the things we've done in the past is actually notify, specific households when their crosswalk or their area is going to be affected. We may go door to door. I know at Kent Drive, we did that. We spoke to some of the residents in person, let them know what they could expect.
That's great.
If there is any temporary no parking, I know our public works guys have been great about helping us out with some of that. I'm not going to volunteer the streets crew, but at the same time, the contractor is going to be responsible for the maintenance of traffic plan. We have our streets crew that, if they're not adhering to the maintenance of traffic plan, or we don't feel they're handling it in a safe manner, we can certainly intervene and help them along with that. But I do think we would take the lead with public notification.
And my final point is, for big projects like this, I have found that our residents oftentimes get frustrated for various issues, and they have no one to call. Will there be a number posted? Is it the contractor they'll be calling? Who will be the point person for residents that have concerns of things going on in front of their house, and things of that nature?
That would be me.
That would be you.
That would be me. Yeah, and I'm on the website, and I'm accessible at Bloom's. My desk number definitely works, as does email, so I'm
So
available.
when we're notifying the residents that we're going to be doing work, your number will be on that piece of paper or whatever, saying if you have any issues or concerns?
It can be.
I think it should, yeah.
It can be. I mean, we put the front desk line, but no, I can absolutely put my number on there, my number and my email. That's typically been the process for Connor Drive and for Kent Drive. I would get direct contact from residents, or sometimes from the contractor would call me and say, hey, we've got so-and-so at this house, we need some assistance, so.
Thanks,
And then I
thank
take
you,
care
Roger.
of it.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Ryan, for the presentation. I don't have any questions about this in particular, but I did have a question. As we go down Manassas Drive and we get toward the railroad tracks, there's currently no sidewalk in that area. And I know a lot of people have been saying with the farmers market, it's challenging to get over there across the tracks. And so I don't know if it's not obviously in this plan, but is there a plan to put something in place where people pushing a stroller, or I've seen lots of teenagers bike over there, walk home from school, take the bus. Where is that kind of in the planning stage?
In the CIP.
Absolutely, yeah. We have funds in the CIP. Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. We have funds in the CIP, and we did get a grant, a sizable grant that is going to carry out a sidewalk project from kind of where we're at, where our sidewalk ends here, across the tracks down to Railroad Drive. Get my bearings straight. On the side closest to the VRE and the closest to City Hall, we're going to extend the sidewalk down. We'll have what we call a switchback ramp that's ADA accessible that leads to the surface lot of the VRE. So we're right now in design of that with VDOT. VDOT is administering the project, but we're under design right now, and I want to say the price tag is about $1.8 million to do that, believe it or not. But that's another.
Only one side on the CIP. Why aren't both sides on the CIP?
So we are looking at another grant application that I believe we actually may have the match in the 26 CIP or 27. So there are two sides. We've had one side funded for a full sidewalk crossing the tracks with the switchback ramp, as I mentioned. That's under the Transportation Alternatives Program. And we just submitted a pre-application for another sidewalk project on the opposite side that would be an 8-foot shared use path, and that would have a 20% match as well. And I believe we do have some match in the CIP for that one, I believe.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the presentation. I got a few questions here. You mentioned there's what is that detectable warning surface? Is that like
Yeah, it's just basically the bottom 2-foot section at the bottom of the ADA ramps that have the I think, half an inch circular raised surface, so you can feel as you're walking across
For
it.
the ramps, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see anywhere in this plan, like, I guess right before the intersection or a stop sign, a warning to vehicles that there's an intersection coming, like either like a stop sign ahead paved on the road, or those transverse rumble strips kind of give you a warning that there's a stop sign ahead. Is there plans to do something like that? Is it beneficial? I mean, because sometimes when vehicles come around the bend, they don't drive that road frequently, and all of a sudden they see a stop sign in the corner and they make a real halt. So if there were some type of warning that before the intersection for vehicles to know that, hey, slow down, there's an intersection up ahead.
Yeah, there was nothing in the HSIP study that identified that. I know like rumble strips aren't typically used along this type of road. But I don't know if the crash data wasn't there for that, if there weren't as much rear end crashes maybe.
Or even like a stop right before the
Yeah.
paved on the.
Stop ahead, like a stop ahead.
Right.
Like word message marking. Yeah, there was nothing identified in the scope for the study to do
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
if
no,
there's any discussion.
I don't know what the justification was for not having it in there. I just, again, we designed what was funded in the study, and it wasn't in there, so.
Interesting, okay. Well, that's maybe something that the city could do in the future. I don't know. The other question was on these high visibility crosswalks. I'm assuming they're high visibility during the day, so will they have reflectors during the evening hours? That most crosswalks have those reflectors that cars could see?
Yeah, I don't think they'll have the like raised pavement marking reflectors.
Mhm.
The thermoplastic usually has like reflective beads within the
Within the paint?
within the paint, but it's not going to glow in the dark. But it'll be the standard VDOT spec
Right.
thermoplastic.
Because, the visibility on that side, the lighting is very poor. And just, if we're enhancing our crosswalks, I would assume that we would have something for the evening hours for high visibility during those hours.
One of the things that we are doing, or will be doing, applying for the Safe Streets for All funding, the implementation money, we are going to hopefully, if we get that funded, we'll do the entire Manassas Drive streetlight project. That would be the full 1.2 million, and that would also help
Including
to
that.
that point.
And my last point was on the Euclid intersection. Right before Euclid, if you're leaving the high school, that road right before 7-Eleven, what is that, Mosby Drive? I don't remember, but,
For 7-Eleven.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, coming.
So, there's a 7-Eleven on the corner.
I think that's up here.
Okay, and then I guess if you continue traveling north, there's an intersection. Right, yeah, there's no plan to put a crosswalk on there for the high school students walking.
Bloom's Quarry?
Yeah.
Bloom's Quarry Road, is that what it is? Yeah. Or even a reflector sign saying, hey, during school hours, you got a handful of kids going through that intersection, and that's one of the busiest intersections, I would say, in the city.
It is, and I actually
With the trucks
exchanged.
going in there, Patriot trucks, it's pretty.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we did, the city itself did an improvement there a few years ago after the crossing guard was
Yeah.
struck. Thankfully, that individual, didn't get gravely injured.
Right.
But we did put a flashing crosswalk sign in there, and as well, I think we did a crosswalk upgrade at that point. But I've been in recent conversations with Dr. Saunders as well about the Safe Streets for All grant we're submitting Thursday. And she wants to have additional attention at that intersection. So we're going to take a close look at that to see if there's anything additional we can do. For the scope of the HSIP project, however, since it was off Manassas Drive, it didn't look at that
Oh,
one.
it's off there. Okay. And then last question with this Euclid intersection. So pedestrians walking, they press the light. You said there was a delay for traffic to start moving and gives a chance to pedestrians to cross,
Yeah.
right? Now, say that you got a vehicle going north or coming from the north side,
Southbound.
right, coming southbound, it's green, right?
Yeah.
They could turn right and the pedestrian light will still be on?
If these guys if there's a pedestrian here,
Yeah.
and they call, it would be like pedestrian phase 4 here.
Right.
After 2 and 6 go, and before, like normally what happens is phase 4 vehicles and phase 4 pedestrian get the same
Right, so
time.
that's what I'm saying, so the north side, it will be green, they
Yeah.
could go straight, but they could also turn right towards the high school, and a pedestrian would have a walk signal during that green light.
It's coming southbound turning right?
Yeah,
or-
yep, right there, yep.
Yeah,
south
so,
side
so if there's a pedestrian here, they would press this button.
Right.
And the few traffic is the pedestrian interval, and they would get the green, or the, it's not green, it's the white walk symbol.
Right,
For
yeah.
pedestrians, while these guys still have red.
So then the whole intersection will be red while they're crossing.
While these guys go, and I think these are probably phased together, so it might go for 8 as well. But yeah, so they get a few seconds to go, and then phase 4 would go, vehicles. So basically, ideally, the pedestrians would not be like right here when these guys are making right turns off of green.
Right,
They'd at
because
least-
currently that's how it is right now.
Yeah, so-
If you go during the school hours,
Yeah.
early in the morning, you have people walking and all of a sudden they're trying to take a right turn and I see them stop right there seeing because there's a pedestrian, one of our youths walking across and they stop.
Yeah, so ideally, these guys would get, if they're waiting for the lights as
Right.
it goes, they would get enough to cross.
Enough time to walk and then.
Yeah,
and
they'd
then
at
it'll
least
turn green.
be within the crosswalk.
Okay.
That's occurring now?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You can come see this fall, September, yeah, I'll take you over there. Yeah.
Right out tomorrow.
When their school's out, I wanted to see,
You
show
can be
them.
the person, you can be the.
Oh, yeah.
Reenactment.
Yes, exactly.
That's it for me, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, Vice Mayor Moore, new firearms ordinance.
Yes, agenda item 7B. First of all, I want to thank our city manager for the research and help in pulling this together. Thank you very much. Basically, this is to enhance safety in our city. One of the things in doing the research for this, which I found kind of amazing, but the CDC reports that the leading cause of children and adolescent death in the United States is because of firearms. And so what this is proposing is that no one would be allowed to bring a firearm in City Hall or any of the public buildings owned by the city of Manassas Park. So we're talking about the City Hall, we're talking about the community center, the MAP clinic, the facility that we have in Blooms, where we have our planning department. And that's what would be prohibited. The legislatures in Richmond allowed us, individual cities, to do this. And so I'm asking for your support on this. I think, again, it's a matter of safety and protection of our seniors, disabled, and our youth.
Great, thank you so much for bringing this up and bringing this forward. We'll start with comments, questions down to the right.
I have no questions. I didn't really have time to dive into this. I was hoping we'd have more of a discussion with the body, an open discussion.
Well, it's not
That's
being
now.
voted on, this is the discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So right now, I'll probably piggyback off any other comment.
And let me just say that the plan is that if there's a consensus of this body, then the city manager will go back and work with our city attorney to draft the language necessary to make that happen. We'll come back to this body for approval at that time.
Was there an incident that prompted this? Or?
There wasn't necessarily a specific incident, but like I said, the CDC said that's the number one charge. And why wait for an incident when we
Oh,
can
yeah,
maybe do
exactly.
something to handle it before it happens?
Okay.
Be proactive.
Yeah, no comment at this time. No questions for me.
Yeah, I'm very supportive.
No question.
The only question I have, and I told you, speaking to you, that I would support it. The only thing is, why, I don't know, it's a class 1 misdemeanor, 12 months, 2,500. Chief, what is brandishing? What does that fall under? I didn't know if we could go down a misdemeanor. I don't know if it needs to be 12 months, 2,500 fine. It's the highest misdemeanor. I think 2 goes to 6 months, 1,000, and 3 or 4. I don't know if it needs to be the highest misdemeanor, but I am supportive.
Okay, appreciate it.
I don't know, just a thought. I don't know if we can, Mr. Manager, if you can just see what the other jurisdictions do for like penalty wise.
Well, that'll
I don't
just
know
be-
if you can find one.
Yeah, and that's just a matter of where you class it as far as the
Yeah.
level of misdemeanor, so.
Because I mean, 12 months, 2,500, up to 12 months in jail, 2,500. I know the next one's 6 months, 1,000, and the other one's, I think, 300, and then it's 250.
Yeah, I can provide that.
I don't know, I just if there's a comparison, like 1 or 2 others, that's just so.
Well, if you guys get to the point where you want to amend the ordinance, then we'll talk about what the penalty should be for
Okay.
violating it.
You and I had also spoken, I am also supportive, but could we get some clarification on parks? Carrying during parks, just you and I think you and I thought that it was fine, carrying in openly in parks. So like Bloom's Park, Signal Hill Park, is that true? I just want to know for sure.
Yeah, I know some cities like Arlington also ban the carrying of guns in parks. And again, I wanted to walk before we ran, and so that's why I proposed just city buildings, but I'm definitely amenable, Councilman.
Yeah, I just
Silverman,
wanted to know
for
what our
parks.
the existing ordinance was currently for the city, if it is parks. Because I was under the impression that you weren't allowed to carry in parks either, already.
Already.
That's why I'm asking.
No, that's a good question. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
Yeah, included in your packet is a reference from the weapons ordinance that talks about parks, but it basically covers, you can't go in there, you can't carry a weapon in there to hunt birds, mammals. So it's not saying you can't carry it, it says you can't hunt in the parks, so.
Okay, okay, so you can in parks. Okay. I was just curious, it's not really super related to this at this point, but yeah.
I think it's a good point.
So are we all?
Yeah, Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So if you guys want to go down this road, you're probably going to want to do something like Alexandria did and see if there's any carve-outs. Like they have museums, obviously, so they carved out museums. They have reenactments that occur there. And so as long as the weapon's not loaded, they allow the carrying of firearms in park areas and such. So the default position is there is no restriction. So you're allowed to restrict, but you're not required to restrict all the way. So it might be a good discussion to have when you decide to go down this road and prepare an ordinance to figure out what kind of limitations you want. You can just go ahead and adopt in whole cloth the state enabling legislation. That's not in here, by the way. The enabling legislation is actually 15.2-915, and that's going to be what you're going to need to look at to see what's authorized.
Yeah, and again, my primary concern was city buildings.
The building.
Was city building.
Is it
But-
just guns or any other weapons? Bow and arrow, slingshot?
Yeah, those are all good questions. I was thinking just firearms, because right now, a person could have a concealed weapon, if they have a concealed license, and they could be in this room right now, or in our library, or in our MAPS clinic. So I was thinking primarily of firearms and not slingshots and bow and arrows, but that's a good point.
Machetes?
It should,
Machetes,
But-
machetes.
yeah.
The state legislation only addresses firearms, so anything above and beyond that would be a separate
Thank you,
ordinance at
Dean.
the state level. You're
So it's just
welcome.
firearms, 15.2, yeah, so just firearms is our focus tonight.
So do we have, yeah.
And this is just for civilians.
Yes, police officers, of course, would be exempt. We won't unarm our chief, we'll make sure he has his gun. Good with him.
Does our fire marshal carry
Yes.
as well? Yeah? Our fire marshal, does our fire marshal
I don't know
carry?
if I-
Yes.
Okay,
yes, I think
yeah, so them
yes.
too.
Yeah, because I was just.
It's
Any police
DCJS.
officer or that kind of thing will still be able to.
Any
carry.
DCJS law enforcement.
That's correct.
School resource officers.
I don't know, because I know the schools are already by state law is not allowed to carry guns, or people aren't supposed to bring guns to schools. I'm not sure about the chief could probably answer that.
The SROs are police officers, and they're exempt, because they are fully commissioned
Okay.
police officers.
So they're exempt, they carry them.
And there are a number of exceptions in the Alexandria Code. Again, if you decide to go down this path, we'll give you a package, yeah.
That's right.
I mean, someone's trying to do something.
So are we in consensus to go down this path when it comes to firearms in public buildings?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we limit it to firearms only, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right,
Thank you. Thank you all.
thank you.
Can I make one more comment on that?
Yes.
Just to be thinking of this. So you have public buildings, but what about the parking lots? Because right now, the law states that you can have a gun in your
Car.
glove box if it's in a parking lot. So, you know, I don't know if you want to prohibit, and I'm not even sure. I don't think the Attorney General has opined on that yet on this law. This has been around for 5 years. I'm not sure if you can prohibit guns within the car. So you might want to have Brian look at that when it comes time.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, you know, it's the building. So if they're locking it safely in their vehicle, however safely that is, I'm fine with that. And that's just my opinion. So yeah, I want to focus on firearms being brought into our buildings, our
What
public
about the
buildings.
farmer's market walking around in the parking lot? So it's not in their vehicle, it is now in the farmer's market walking around the parking lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of like parks. And again, at this point,
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
would treat it the same way.
Or at city events, like the last Friday events, for example.
Yeah, Karen.
Leave it off outside for right now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Police crime report. Welcome, Chief.
Just in time.
So long, I forgot about it. Let's go through a half page. I don't see it here. That would be why I didn't get it open.
Oh. So that was last year, let's go down to 2 this year? Yeah, I was like, oh, God.
Take pictures of my building.
Well, no, one is too many. Let's go for that.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the governing body. At your request, the city manager asked that I put together a slide to discuss some crimes against persons and property, violent crime, with the recent homicide that we had earlier this year, or a few months ago, or a month ago, I guess. So I put together some numbers on some Group A and Group B crimes. And as you see, everything's pretty much down with the exception of a murder because we have 4 people that were killed in the city. And when we compare it to last year in FY24, all our numbers are down, which doesn't show that we have an issue with violent crime in our city. There's other areas that crime is up, felony arrests, traffic citations and stuff like that, but violent crime against persons is the only thing that's up is right now is the homicides.
And, well, first of all, thank you for this
You're
slide.
welcome.
And I just want to make note that this is primary source information. I know there's been a lot of social media posts about websites that are telling you fake numbers. I would just want to urge everyone to make sure that their sources are for information that is reliable, especially before sharing it on social media. So this is great to have, thank you. I heard that no murder or manslaughter is ever good, but in a domestic violence situation, which all of these were, that does not count towards our safety rating?
That I don't know.
That's not true.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they asked those questions. I know when we report our stats to, the FBI and the state, we report it as it is.
Okay.
Murder, homicide, manslaughter, whatever it is.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions starting down here?
None, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I know your department does a great job. I just have a question. Are the overdoses on fentanyl, have they decreased or are they stabilized?
They've decreased, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So Chief, you would also say that the homicides that we did have, the 4, didn't necessarily put most of our residents at risk. There wasn't a lone shooter running around or a drive-by, but this was a domestic, very specific.
Whatever
homicide.
occurred in that house, and hopefully when we get the report, it happened within a house. It wasn't somebody from the outside.
Right.
So until we get the final reports and we feel comfortable releasing what we know.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, but it
appreciate
was
that.
isolated to that house. It wasn't something that we were concerned in the community.
Because, you look at social media, and I'm sure my colleagues in this diocese saw that, people were saying, oh, Manassas Park isn't safe. But in reality, that's not true. Like you said, all serious crime is down in our city.
Yes.
But we had some domestic issues that resulted in homicides, which are really tragic and unfortunate. But
Yeah, and that's why.
for the general population, they can rest assured that this is a safe town.
Yes, and that's why we put in there that we believe at that time that it was a murder-suicide. We didn't leave our community to wonder what happened. We try to push that out as soon as possible to keep people at ease.
Appreciate that. Yeah, you guys do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no questions. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, another question, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of minutes from June 10, 2025, that the governing body approve and adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 25 of the Code of the City of Manassas Park, Virginia, as presented, and that the governing body approve and authorize the mayor to sign a deed of easement that grants Northern Virginia Electric Cooperative, NOVEC, an electric utility easement as presented and subject to final city attorney review. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Budget amendment. So this is 10A. Are you going to present them together?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so budget amendment and appropriation.
Yeah, so this is pretty simple, based on the resolution you passed last week. Yes, last week, to move the $1.2 million out of escrow and to relieve the pressure on the water fund. So that purchase, the borrowing of the money happened in '25, so we're going to make it right in '25. It makes it easier for bookkeeping, so that's why we had the resolution last week. And so this is the amendment that makes that change. It also incorporates some other, we have some budget to actuals, and so there are some changes to the budget that are a little bit here and a little bit there, including the revenue from the lease revenue that comes off the Digital Drive building. So that's all included, and it all ends up at the end of the day being about a $454,305 increase to the budget. So we're looking for you to, pass the budget amendment and then appropriate the money as required for us to deal with it. So highlights, I know there's some slides here. Yeah, so 1.2, the escrow money I talked about, $454,000 in Digital Drive rent revenue, some carryover, some things that didn't get done this year that we thought were going to get done. Now we're going to get done next year. Unfortunately, we've had a long-term inmate that we've been having to pay for from the homicide from last summer. So we exceeded our budget for jail costs. So we need to make an adjustment there. And then a couple of net neutral transfers in the treasurer's office and then in the business of Steve, transportation stuff. So, but at the end of the day, it's for 300 and net change of $454,305. So if you have any questions, we can get the spreadsheet open and go line by line if you'd like.
Comments, questions, starting down here? No? Okay.
No.
Jesse?
No.
Okay. So the first motion is for the budget amendment. Staff recommendation is that the governing body approves the FY25 A4 budget amendment as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. And then the appropriation, staff recommendation is that the governing body appropriate $454,305 to city for adjustment to the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2025 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. All right, new business, FY 2026 paving.
I know I saw this up here a second ago. Pardon me? Oh, there's no presentation. Oh, then I'll stop looking around.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of council. Steve Hall again, Transportation Program Manager. We are approaching the FY26 paving program once again for the city. This comes up annually. Most recently, the governing body authorized some remaining funds from FY25 to mill and overlay Pierce Street, Mosby Drive, and Scott Drive. Those were successfully completed under budget. We, as you know, recently redid the Fugro pavement condition analysis data. And what's been our typical process is that, we review the PCI scores, we go down the list effectively. We take any citizen complaints into consideration. We also do windshield surveys with Mark Rowland. We miss Mark very much. But we have a list of roads this evening. I believe we have 8 that are in your packet. We are recommending all of Lower Kent Drive, Mace Street, Cougar Court, all of it, Park Place, all of Park Place, Sheldon Street, all of it, La Paz, all of it, Adams Street, all, and Nancy Street, all. The quotes that we received from Branscombe, we actually had to get updated on June 13th. And the total that we're requesting with the 10% contingency for this work is $489,842.78. We would ask for your approval and authorization for the city manager to sign that task order, assuming the budget goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Quick questions. These are all in the second category. In that lowest category, less than 10, do we have any streets sitting there?
Yes, there were, I believe, there may have been 2 in, I think I have it on my flash drive. I believe there were 2 in the failed, but everything else was in the serious. So everything was 25 and below. But after this, there will be none in the failed condition anymore.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Comments, questions, starting?
No.
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 All right,
Thank you.
excellent.
Appreciate it.
Staff recommendation is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign a task order with Branscombe Paving Company for FY26 resurfacing for a total not to exceed $489,842.78 using projected FY26 street improvement and resealing NBTA funds as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. 11B, approval of budget and fees for FY 2026.
Thank you, Mayor. So, no surprises here. This is just the manifestation of the conversations we've had over the past few months. So this is the final proposed budget based on the recommendations we got a couple of weeks ago. So we'll talk about general fund, enterprise fund, sort of pull out some of the highlights, and then talk about the next steps. I included the somewhat detailed document there just to show you your 81,918 revenue, 81,918 expenditures. So this is a balanced budget, which is what's required by law. Same thing in all of the enterprise funds. Revenues equal expenditures, proposed expenditures. And so we have a total balanced budget. Highlights, the operating and capital budgets decreased by 31.4%. Again, that's because we're drawing down that ARPA money. So that's going away, and we still have some. We have till the end of 26 to spend it all. So you're going to see this continue to drop, not as much as this, but as we continue to spend that money and it goes away, it's no longer a source of revenue, then that'll keep going down. Total city budget down 21.7 over fiscal year 25 A2. Vice Mayor Moore asked why A2 and not a different A2, and it's just a point in time for me and gives us a reference point. I actually prefer to use the adopted original budget, but, adapting to the way things go here, but that's reason for A2 from me, so. This includes a real estate tax reduction of 1 cent per $100 assessed value. I forgot to do this. So we did save about $70,000 at the community center due to the conversion to LED lighting fixtures, and I don't believe that project is done. And I was going to find that out, and I forgot, but because I wanted the idea being that it'll actually be more than $70,000, but that's just from the first part of the project. We're going to see some savings due to transition away from the enterprise lease program for the white fleet vehicles, which we've talked about. And then we have a citywide COLA for most staff at 2.5%. I say most staff because some staff that have a connection to the state or part of their salaries are paid for by the state approved a higher COLA than that for them. And that's it in short, so.
All right, thank you very much. I would like to thank you and staff for all of your hard work on this budget process. I know it was long. We appreciate your hard work and your patience. So thank you for getting that together. We'll go down and say our comments and questions. When we take the vote, I would like to kind of go down the row and do it one at a time so we can make it a little easier for Lena and make it clear where you're standing on that vote. So comments, questions, starting to the right.
No questions.
All right.
No comments, questions, just thank you for the staff for all the hours put into doing this, and I know it's, not a easy feat to work with, 7 different bosses and try to figure out what direction to go, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no comments other than to thank the staff for working hard, and thank you, Mr. City Manager, for jumping in the middle of this process and bringing us to today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
No comments.
I want to thank the staff and the manager for putting this together, and then I want to apologize to the staff because next year's going to be really tough, and there's going to be more downsizing. And we couldn't do 500,000 this year, and if we get $8.5 million on, now we're going to do it next year. It's going to be 8% of the budget. Yeah, I've never seen that before. So sometimes you have to make tough decisions. The decisions should have started this year, and with elections next year, I think it would be tougher to even make the reduction. So I appreciate all the hard work of the staff and the manager. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I cannot support the proposed budget as presented. While I appreciate the hard work of the manager and staff and its preparation, I believe it misses some key opportunities to provide meaningful relief to our residents. This budget includes only a 1 cent reduction in real estate tax rate and raises water rates, despite the fact that we've already released more than $1 million in previously allocated funds to help balance the budget via the escrow and previously allocated funding for the city center movie screen and increases in real estate assessments. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so the staff recommendation is that the governing body approve an ordinance to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget as presented. Let's
So
start.
moved.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we did need a motion. Yes, so moved. Do you have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then for the votes, let's start down this way.
No.
No.
I'm gonna abstain for now.
Okay, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you need to vote.
I need to vote, okay.
Today's the last day.
Well, before she goes, it'll be, I think it'd be a good idea to compromise and actually pass something tonight. I mean, let's keep the 1 cent, keep everything as is, but let's just keep the water at 0. Let's try to meet halfway here.
Well,
So-
I appreciate that comment. I also would like to ask the city manager a question. What are the implications if we don't pass a budget tonight? Are we coming up against a pretty tight deadline?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're
we'll
statutorily
pass it.
obligated
We
to
have to
pass the
pass it.
budget.
Yeah, we'll
tonight.
pass it tonight.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking if you guys could just compromise on the water, keep everything the same, we'll keep it 1 cent, and just try to get something to our residents, at least some type of relief. Their assessments went up, and let's just help them out. So I'm gonna make a motion that we keep this as is, except for the water, no increase, and keep everything as is as presented.
Second.
Can you tell us what the implications would be to the water?
I cannot make that happen tonight. So I'm required to produce a balanced budget, so I would have to go back, do the math, figure out what that means, and
Do you still have the slideshow from the slide from which was the 0 to 551 cent? Do you
I
still have
do, but
You
it's
already
not,
presented that option, so, I mean, it's not gonna be a major change.
Well, we presented that option high level, and then when you settled on one, we went in
Right.
and built a budget.
Right.
But right now, we
So-
have a motion and a
Settle on
second.
know, we did.
We have a motion and a second right now, so we do need to take a vote on that motion, please.
I'd like to speak to the motion.
Okay.
First of all, that is not a compromise. A compromise would be at least bringing the water to 3%. You're basically going to zero. This is just kicking the financial can down the road. And city manager, you can opine on this. As our leader here, this is all we're doing, because next year, we're gonna have to then raise the water to 15 to 16% and have all of our residents screaming at us. This is an incremental increase. All we are doing is passing on the water increases that UOSA has passed on to the city. We're not charging our residents more than what they're doing. We're charging them what has been passed on to our city. And historically, I know we've absorbed that, but we can't do that anymore. It's impacting our general fund, which then impacts our employees, our fire, our police, our parks and rec, our DSS. That's what that does. Zero. Yes, everybody would like roses and rainbows, but the reality of the situation is we're kicking the financial burden down.
I don't think the city is equipped to make any type of any type of determination on our enterprise funds. We need to hire an outside consultant to do
The
so.
city manager will do that. He came in and he
He-
inherited this.
No, that's right.
I'm not blaming him, I'm saying, but, you know,
But
we have to
right
do
now,
the study.
I don't think the
So right
city,
now-
we have great staff, but the city is not equipped to handle
I
just.
totally agree, we need to do a rate study.
So
But
why
that-
are we rushing to an increase in our enterprise fund when we don't even know the full damage
Because
of it?
we
The
do
UOSA
know-
increase was only 2%,
do
but
know
yet we're
that.
increasing it 6%.
We do know that we're kicking the
UOSA was
can
2%,
to
let me
6%.
say that for the record here.
No,
Secondly,
Who's
it's not
paying the
kicking.
6% UOSA increase?
Councilman,
The general fund.
I have the floor, if I could make.
I don't
finish.
ever see you
Keep-
being given the
keep-
floor. I had the floor initially.
Well, you
Did our
finished.
mayor say you had the floor?
You finished, so.
All right,
You thought I finished.
Okay, go ahead. No, I'll wait.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Would you like the floor, Hasib?
Yes, thank you. I'm just saying, we just need to hire an outside consultant to properly evaluate our enterprise funds. I don't, the city staff, yes, they're bombarded with multiple tasks, and they might not see something an outside consultant might see. And to put that raise and say we're kicking the financial can, we don't even know the full impact of that. No, we don't need to raise it 15% next year. We have not done so over the last 15 years, except for the last 3 years we increased the water. So I'm proposing that we just hire an outside consultant to properly look at this, because I can't justify pay raises to staff and this, and when our residents are suffering year over year with increased assessments and higher bills and just a minimal tax reduction. And we have development over development going to a CIP project that's not even benefiting towards our residents. I mean, that's all I have, but like I said, we have a motion and a second. I would like a vote on that.
Can I make a,
If there's a comment, go ahead.
can okay, so, let's talk about what happened. We had 171 employees in 2020, and we added almost 50. And our population decreased in 4 years, 3.5%, check the US Census. That's what occurred. We have 9 vacant positions. We can eliminate 4, because next year we're gonna have to cut probably 20. We have firefighters, there are 12 of them, that we got a grant. It was a 3-year grant. When that came up 3 years ago, I said they should be advertised as temporary employees. Nobody on the dais said anything, because it ruins morale. And we may not get that grant next year, so we have to cut those people. And we should have advertised them, because everybody else does that in every other jurisdiction in the state. Go up to Orange County, Alexandria, go to Fairfax. They cut, they had to reduce. We don't do that here. Why can't we do that here? We place so much hardship on our working community. It's unacceptable. 50 people, 32% increase in staff? In 4 years, and your population decreases 3.5%? Our school system loses 15%. They've increased 50 FTEs. And then they want, you read the paper, they want to increase the local sales tax. In the paper last week. They need more money. You always want money. You got the lottery. You got the sales tax increase 5 times in the last 20 years. You got the recordation tax. You got the plastic bag tax. You constantly give money. And what are you getting back? Virginia's still ranked the same in education, 12. It's been like that for 20 years. But we keep, we police the hardship on the people here. It's ridiculous. UOSA increased 7%. UOSA is the sewer. It's not the water. The water comes from Prince William, from the city of Manassas and part of Prince William County. That's what it is. The water in Prince William County is 30% cheaper.
In Fairfax County, it is 200%. It's 200% cheaper. You pay what you pay here. In Fairfax County, you pay every 3 months. That's what it is. You know why? Because we use the water to pay for everybody else. That's not what people think in the community the water should be for. It should be for the staff, for the system, for the maintenance, and for the capital inflation. It's used for everything else. It's paying 18% of HR. Who in the water, is the water itself complaining about something in HR? It's 20% almost of IT. 20% of IT's work is not the water department. But that's what we do. Legal, 30%. Legal, 30% of the city's legal responsibility is not done with water. Now, I can get the police department's 2.5 because you have water breaks in the middle of the night, and you might need police out there to help, mitigate and control that. So there's a cost of business, but it's not to that level. And to be honest with you, we don't need an outside consultant. We need the Attorney General to come here and investigate the city and why it's being done and misleading people, because I'm the one that brought it up, because it's been happening for 20 years. That's what we should do. So the hardship is ridiculous on the people. $8.5 million next year. My jurisdiction had to cut $30 million out of $1.6 billion budget this year. And that was hard. And if we had to cut 8.5%, which we're expecting $70 million next year, we would have to cut $130 million, and that would be catastrophic. So what are we going to do here next year? We got elections for 3 people. You think they're going to raise taxes next year? People are going to complain. You're going to have a slate running. They're all going to run on cutting your taxes, cutting your taxes. So next year, she'll probably not vote for a tax increase. I won't. He won't. I don't think Kevin will. He's up for re-election. I don't think he'll say I'm running, because everybody who's running against him will say, you could raise my water, you raise my taxes. So there'll be 4 here. So 8.5 million people. That's going to be 20 to 25 people being cut. And you're going to fill these people? When we have vacant people we can cut now, and we maybe just cut 10 versus 20 next year? Just think about that. What kind of morale issue is that? So that's all I have to say. Thank you, sir, for your work.
Thank you. We are going to vote on this new motion, but I would like to say, respectfully, we have had since April. Yes, we need to look at water. We already talked about that. We already put a plan in place to do that between now and next year. Now is not the time to be changing our minds. We are going to need to sit here until he runs numbers if this new motion passes.
It will take more than sit here. I mean, it'll take a few days, and Tony needs to go to sleep at some point, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Dean, when is the deadline for this budget?
30th.
The 30th.
Yes, June 30th.
So please be prepared to come back tomorrow and Thursday and Friday until this is finished.
And
this
I will-
should have been decided, weren't we here last week? Was this last week? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we've met every week.
Right, so the
And-
time to change the vote to this
It's
is
over.
not,
This should just be a
it's over.
formality.
This should have been, exactly, thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I say one thing? I believe that water is a problem, and it is one of my top priorities, and I would engage in a study immediately upon passage of the budget in the new fiscal year. And if it turns out that there's some adjustments need to be made, you can do those mid-year. You don't have to do it the whole year. But right now, the best information we have, this is what we're proposing, and we'll make it an order of first priority to do the study once the next year starts.
We appreciate that.
And so for the
Okay.
unknowns that the residents need to suffer right now.
Okay, we are going to take a vote on.
Just to clarify one thing, the budget, he's already done the budget, so we don't need to have come back 3-4 days. I mean, he already presented a 0 budget with the 5%
He did.
increase. So it's already there, all right? So don't try to say that, that we need a whole other week
Can you
here.
ask him where it is?
Yeah, if you could pull it up.
Yeah, sure, I can show you what I proposed,
Right,
but we
yeah.
didn't move forward to build that budget.
It was not a finalized budget, it
Right.
was a rough.
But
You had numbers that showed what
You
the
have
reduction
numbers
would be.
already, you just have to finalize that before the 30th.
Well, yes,
Is that
just
it?
have to finalize that is not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
But yes, so this is what I proposed. Oh, you were looking for 0.
That's important. I understand that it's not easy, but we understand that it's important. So-
As do I.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
felt
let's
like we
tell the
got
residents,
direction
let's
2
rush
weeks
through
ago.
this
and-
right now,
2
because
weeks ago
majority
was
of the
fine.
body right now does not want to take
We
the
didn't rush,
time.
we've
Well-
been working on this through April.
Right, and you have not heard the
I also
residents.
want to bring up
All
right, you have not heard
the
the residents, you have
compromise
not heard
that was done.
Other body
Don't say
members.
we're rushing. We've
All
been
right,
working on this through
everyone,
April.
the time, let's vote on this second motion, the one that would require us to come back this week to vote on. So we'll start down, as I did last time, to the left. The new motion that Steve has presented.
Can you repeat that motion?
No increase in the water and keep everything the same.
I can agree.
I agree.
I don't agree, actually, because I think that I hear both points. That's why I'm abstaining, because I feel like I hear what you're saying. The residents are going to suffer. Residents are right now in a bad situation, but I don't know how we're going to be next year, especially with all that stuff that's coming from the top. And so I want to be conservative. I want a budget that's going to be able to be balanced and is going to be able to maintain the COLA, maintain the staff, be able to support the schools, and be able to support our city. So I feel that what you guys are saying makes sense, that we don't want the residents to suffer, but we've been subsidizing the water for a while now. And I think doing it slowly, like you had proposed before, Steve, to do a slow thing is better than to do nothing right now, because next year, we don't know where we're gonna be. And you're right, we don't have the numbers, and there's a big mess right now with the whole situation. And yes, I think we do need time, and I think right now, doing it conservatively will give it more service to the resident. And they can be mad at right now for 6%, but if next year we have to do 15, and the next year we have to do 20, because we're not in the right position. And I think we need to give Carl a chance to work it out his manner, his way, with the information he's been giving. So I believe, I wish we could do 0. I wish we could do 2% decrease in real estate tax, but I'm afraid that I don't think we're gonna be okay next year if we keep pushing everything the way that we are. And yes, we're gonna suffer, we all are. We're all sitting here and we're all wondering how we're gonna pay the bills, because we're all in that position. You know what I mean? So it's very hard to hear both sides of your points, because you're both right, because you're coming from both directions. But right now, I think that we need to be conservative.
But we're already getting
So we have,
78%
hold on, we're in the middle
increases.
of a vote. So yes, no, I'm a no. Darryl?
No.
No. Well,
Let's
before
see
the vote,
what
I
we
need
say
to
yes.
rebuttal with, conservatively means not to raise everything all at once, right?
Right. The motion
motion is
fails.
the vote.
Water,
The motion fails.
trash,
Hasib,
sewer.
please.
We're
The
doing that
motion
all
failed.
at one time.
Are you ready to vote on the original
So-
motion? All right, we're going back to the original motion, that the governing body approve an ordinance to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget as presented, starting this way.
I move. Motion.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Second.
thank you.
No.
Am I allowed to make a comment before I vote?
You have 10 seconds.
Okay. I was just talking about conservatively, and I would advise you to go look at Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax County, Falls Church City. You know what that means? Cut positions that are vacant. That's what they do. That's what they did. That's what we need to do here. Because next year it's gonna be tougher to cut a lot of people who are active, who are actually working and we're filling positions, so.
What's your vote, Michael?
So, no.
Yesy?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm a yes. Darryl?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Hasib?
No.
All right, it passes. Thank you. PRTC resolution.
So moved.
Oh, you ready to move it?
So, second.
Should we talk about it?
Second. No,
Let's-
second.
Yeah, let's tell the public what this is.
Oh, I didn't have that one, I'm sorry. I thought we were gonna do appropriations next. Hold
No.
on. The PRTC.
No, we can do
The new
appropriate the fund.
appropriations.
Did we have a presentation for that, Kelly?
No, but you want to do the first quarter appropriations?
Well, let's stick with what the agenda
Well,
had on it.
it's all gotta be done, so.
No.
Where did you hide it? I'll go back and do it the way I did with the Chiefs thing.
Just a resolution.
PRTC, when you approved the budget, you approved the,
Yeah, it would be good to
Funding
just have
for-
like a one-line thing so the residents know what,
Yes, because then we'll ask questions.
yeah.
Well,
It's basically our contribution to the traffic fund, but I know I've got this, just. There it is. Resolution authorizing city appropriation of, our motor fuels tax, that's what it is.
Yes.
$857,876 to support the administration operation and be administered by the PRTC. That's the resolution.
Perfect. Motion is that the governing body approve and adopt a resolution authorizing the appropriation of Manassas Park motor fuels tax funds as administered by the Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission to support administration and operation in the amount of $857,876 as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
We already have first and second.
I already do, wait.
You already moved it, I seconded.
Do you have the motion and second, Lena?
Daryl.
I vote.
And I seconded.
I didn't hear the scope.
We're ahead here.
And then, I'm sorry, what?
We're ahead here.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. First quarter appropriations.
This is just the action you need to take to let the city and the schools spend the money from the budget you just approved.
Staff recommendation is that the governing body appropriate $28,976,163 to the city for quarter one of fiscal year 2026, and that the governing body appropriate $22,631,413 to city schools for quarter one of fiscal year 2026 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We have arrived at our second public comment time. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? Okay. City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, governing body, for the spirited conversation. Have a couple things tonight. First thing is I was elected to the Prince William County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors last week. Status is given to the two city managers and the county executive, and so I was approved last week to be on their board. And I only mention that because tomorrow is their board retreat, so I will be somewhere around here, but may not be as responsive as you might expect. Next thing is the audit update. We are required by statute to post on our website and notify the auditor of public accounts of our pending audit. So our auditor wrote us a letter, which has been posted on our website, which basically says it's pending. They're still trying to make the audit align with the generally accepted accounting principles, is known as GAAP, and they expect to have the financial statements and comparative reports submitted in July. That's as specific as they got. So I'm also required to let you know that, but that's all I have on that for now. We did receive 2 responses to the RFP for the economic development consultants, so Mark will be squaring those away for us to grade them and figure out if they meet the requirements of the RFP and if we're going to interview them. And I was going to mention that it's become clear to me over the past couple of weeks that the analysis of the water enterprise fund is important and needs to be done as soon as possible. And I put that in my notes, but I already mentioned up there, so I'll stop at that.
All right. Thank you. I would like to note that our next meeting is July 15th, so try not to miss each other too much. Is there anything else for the good of the city?
And where is that report that you mentioned, Carl? The auditor's report?
It's posted on our website. In our financial reports, there's a place we're supposed to put it. I'll send you a link. How's that?
Perfect. Yeah, sure.
Perfect, thank you.
I have one announcement for the general public. We have our flag raising to celebrate our 50th anniversary. It's going to be Tuesday, July 1st at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. So come up and support and toast our city's 50th birthday.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. We are adjourned.